Hello people, I'm the Real Comic Book Gamer, and today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite comic book writers of all time. Now this is all my own opinion, and this is one of the hardest lists I've ever made. It was so hard to count down and just choose 10. There's so many great writers out there, but this is my top 10. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting off at number 10, which is Chuck Dixon. Now, Chuck Dixon is a complete legend when it comes to Batman, but he did a lot of other stuff as well. In Batman, he created Bane. He's one of the co-creators of Bane. He's the main guy behind Bane. So without him, we would not have the guy who broke the Bat. And then from going on from Batman to where he did a lot of stuff in the Batman world, and that's why he even has like Dixon docs in the Arkham games as a nod to him. But anyways, from there he moved on to Nightwing, to where with Nightwing he also had a fantastic run, and in that he pretty much created the Nightwing Bloodhaven world that we all know today. So without him, we wouldn't have a lot of the classic Nightwing stuff we have. And then from there on, he wrote some other stuff for IDW, to where he wrote G.I. Joe. Some of my favorite G.I. Joe story arcs, like Target Snake Eyes and the Cobra Civil War Snake Eyes spinoff. I've always had a soft spot for G.I. Joe, and he sort of modernized G.I. Joe for me, which was great because I always loved G.I. Joe when I was little, but the comics were kind of like hit and miss. Some of them were good, some of them were just terrible. He added like a steady run to G.I. Joe, and he modernized it without like destroying the characters and made it very real and great. So yeah, Chuck Dixon, just a complete legend, and that's why he's at my number 10 spot. Number 9, we got Mark Millar. Mark Millar has done a ton of different stuff. He's done a bunch of stuff for Marvel. He's done a bunch of independent stuff. Lately, it seems like all of his independent comics are becoming movies, like Kingsman and Kick-Ass and just so on and so on. He's going to have tons more movies coming out, no doubt, but he's also done a ton in the comics. There's a reason he's getting all those movies made. He had one of my favorite runs on Spider-Man ever. He wrote Old Man Logan, which is tied with another Wolverine book from my favorite Wolverine book of all time, and Old Man Logan is the base for the new Wolverine movie. So yeah, he's done a lot of comics, like a ton. He's been everywhere, it seems. Now, number 8 is a very biased pick for me, and this is John Byrne. John Byrne had a humongous run on Superman that was very consistent, which is very rare for how long he was on the book for. But yeah, his books had his whole run on Superman has very few bad parts in there. Majority of it was very good, which is very surprising for how long he was on there. But yeah, to me, Superman is one of the most challenging characters to write well, and he consistently wrote a very good, interesting Superman. His run on Superman was sort of like a day in the life of Superman, what it was like to be Superman. You guys sort of peek behind the curtains, and it was very interesting, and I thought he just did a great job. And that alone gets him in this, but he also did some X-Men stuff, and he's written a bunch of different things, but mainly Superman is why he's on this list for me. Nevertheless, the fact that he had stuff to do with like the Dark Phoenix saga, and so yeah, that's why he's on this list. At number 7, we have, in my opinion, the best Batman writer of all time, and that is Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder has quickly become my favorite Batman writer, and that's just because he's like with John Byrne with Superman. With Batman, this guy is incredibly consistent. Just everything from him is fantastic. I don't know how he does it, but it's amazing. And all his Batman stuff would get him on this list. Never the fact that he's done other stuff like Witches, which is one of my favorite indie books. It's amazing. It's my favorite horror indie book. It's very creepy, and if you haven't read it, you definitely should. It's really cheap, by the way. But anyways, yeah, his Batman books, most of you guys read it. Like Court of Owls, as soon as that came out, that became huge in the Batman world. Like, that added so much to the mythos of Gotham and Batman, and was just attached to the character immediately. Now the fact that he wrote my favorite Batman book of all time, which is Batman the Black Mirror, where Dick Grayson was Batman, and yeah, just his Batman stuff alone would get him on the list. Nevertheless, the fact that he has written other stuff that's pretty good. At number 6, we have Jeff Lemire. Now, Jeff Lemire has been sort of recent compared to some of the other people on this list in the comics industry, but to me, quickly he'll be in like the top 3 in like the next 10 years or so. I really feel like he's going to reach legendary status. To me, he pretty much already has. This guy's got so much talent. Everything he touches is amazing. I first learned about him on Green Arrow in the New 52, where Green Arrow in the New 52 was just complete garbage, and he took over and transformed it and made it amazing. I believe he wrote Animal Man in the New 52 as well, and people said that was fantastic. I have not read it, but then from there he went over to Marvel and he wrote Hawkeye, which was pretty good at first, and then sort of fallen off, and that was like the only thing that I didn't care for from him. And then he started writing Old Man Logan and one of the X-Men books for them, and both of those are fantastic. He's also wrote Sweet Tooth, which is my favorite indie book of all time. Sweet Tooth is like is also, Sweet Tooth has gone on for a very long time, but anyways, Sweet Tooth is amazing. If you have not read it, you need to. It's simply phenomenal. And yeah, his versatility is just astounding. He can do pretty much anything, it seems, and everything he touches is just great. Again, the only thing that I haven't liked from him that I've read is some of his Hawkeye stuff wasn't too great, but yeah, for the most part, everything he touches turns to gold. He's so talented, and I cannot wait to see what else he's got in store in the next couple of years. Like, the sky's the limit for Jeff Lemire. He's got so much more to do, and he's already done a good bit, and so that's why he's already on this list. For other people, they might want him to be in the industry for a bit longer, see what else he can do, but to me, he's already here. He's just fantastic. At number 5, we have Jeff Loeb, who is another writer who's been everywhere. It seems like he's touched every single character. He's known mainly for two things, which are his run on Superman and Batman, and his color books, which, like Daredevil Yellow, he did a whole series of those. And yeah, he's done fantastic on most stuff he's written. It's a shame he's not really doing anything with comics right now. He's like the head of the TV division of Marvel, so he looks over everything, like their Netflix shows and like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything that goes on the Marvel TV. He sort of overlooks that right now. He's like the big executive. But when he was writing comics, just so great. Superman, Batman, Public Enemies was the first ever like trade paperback that I read. Before that, I only read issues, but when I read that, it just completely blew my mind. I love that book. There's nothing like so like big like David Fincher plot twist thing about it, but it is a just great book that everyone should read. It's so much fun, and to me, he gets the Superman-Batman relationship better than any other writer I've ever seen, and I really want that to return in like Rebirth or something. But anyways, that's off topic. He's done so many great things, and I wish he would come back to comics, and yeah, that's why he's at number 5. At number 4, we have Alan Moore. I don't really need to say why he's on this list, but I will. Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Killing Joke, The Man Who Has Everything. He's written so much stuff that is just must-read comics. That is why he's on this list. The guy is crazy, he's bonkers, but he knows how to write some good comics, and another very versatile writer, and just so many legendary comics. He's got probably more legendary comics under his belt than any other writer on this list, or maybe any other comic book writer ever. So yeah, that's why he's at number 4. At number 3, we have Chris Claremont, who wrote possibly the best team book of all time. That, or the writer for number 2 wrote maybe the best team book, but anyways, when he wrote X-Men, it was just amazing. He covered so many different topics. One of my favorite books is the Dark Phoenix Saga, but he also wrote some other great books with very interesting topics like God Loves, Man Kills, and he wrote, again, what I said earlier, Old Man Logan was tied with my favorite Wolverine book, which my favorite Wolverine book tied with Old Man Logan is the Wolverine book written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Frank Miller. Everything you've heard about X-Men probably came from Chris Claremont, because Chris Claremont had that big of an impact on the X-Men. It was huge. It's maybe the biggest impact on any like set of characters besides their creators. Like he's just had so much of an effect on the X-Men. He just created the X-Men you all know today, and that's why Chris Claremont is at number 3. Now number 2 is Marv Wolfman, who again probably wrote, I'd say tied with X-Men, is New Teen Titans. He wrote New Teen Titans, which was a very good book. It was sort of revolutionary for the time. It was just a group of young teenagers that were, you know, this sort of Justice League type group. You had Dick Grayson that was trying to separate from Batman, become his own man. He became Nightwing during this time. Marv Wolfman did create the Nightwing persona. He also introduced my second favorite comic book character of all time, who is Deathstroke, and so yeah, of course I have to give Marv Wolfman props for that. And then after that, he had a fantastic run on Deathstroke when he created the Deathstroke solo series that shed so much light on Deathstroke and the type of character he is, and the fact that he's an anti-hero and not actually just like this complete money-hungry merc. And that series was great for the most part. Later on, it got crazy and weird and not very good, but the majority of the series, I'd say, was pretty good. And also, he wrote some of Superman. He created the character of Cat Grant, and yeah, he's just had a big stamp on DC Comics, and is just one of my favorite writers of all time. And my number 1 pick is Frank Miller. Now,
oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Number 1, most of you guys saw this coming who watch my channel, and number 1 is Jeff. Now, most of you guys who watch my channel very regularly know who my number 1 pick is, but yes, my number 1 is Geoff Johns. Now, in my opinion, there is not today, this very moment, a more versatile writer out there in comics. Jeff Johns doesn't just write a good Hal Jordan, Barry Allen, Superman. He writes the best Hal Jordan, the best Barry Allen, and the best Superman, in my opinion. That's insane. How can someone do that? Not just good versions of the characters, but the best. And it's not just by me. A lot of people agree with me on this as well. Not saying everyone does, but a lot of people do agree that he writes the best Hal Jordan. It's pretty much unanimous that he writes the best Hal Jordan, but not so much on the Barry Allen and Superman thing. But still, I say he writes the best Barry Allen and best Superman, in my opinion. And not only has he done that, he's done other books. He's had some great stuff on Justice League. I haven't been the biggest fan of everything on Justice League, but he has had some great stories on Justice League, like Darkseid War. He made Aquaman badass again. He wrote Flashpoint. He wrote some Teen Titans. He wrote Batman Earth 1. The guy has done pretty much everything anyone can do for DC Comics. Now, I didn't even mention everything he's written. He's written tons more. And most of what he has written is just simply amazing. It's some of the best stuff for those characters. So yeah, that is why, to me, he is the best writer in all of comic books. But anyways, guys, yeah, that's why Jeff Johns is my #1 pick for the best comic book writer of all time. Please let me know in the comments below who are your top 10 favorite comic book writers. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
I've been so alone ever since I left the tribe. That's just how it goes, guess I like the lonely vibe. But they'll never know, cause I'm